Now entering Nerdist.com.
Why don't I try this professional thing? Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast. Hey. After all the fumbling, someone sent me a note. They were like, could you just get into the show faster? I'm like, all right. Well.
Can you quit the rambling up front so you can get to the rambling that is the show?
Can you do some official rambling in a structured pattern? Well, all right. Our guest today is Weird Al Yankovic. He's here in my house. Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here.
Oh my god, I'm so excited that you're here, especially after you came in and surprised everyone at the live podcast at Largo.
Even us.
I surprised myself. Like, what am I doing here?
You're the nicest guy in the world, because Al literally waited for the entire show to come out and sing about a minute and a half at the end of the song.
But it was worth it.
It was amazing, and everyone went crazy. And I actually I did the live chat with you at SF Sketchfest in January, which my girlfriend is a producer of that festival. And so when I started the podcast, I got all excited. Yeah, I know. That's the only reason I've done like 6 in a row. I mean, not that I wouldn't do it, that they keep asking me to do it. Like, it's the only thing I've ever screwed my way into, I guess. So I chatted with you at Sketchfest, and then afterwards I was like, oh, I'm doing the podcast. This is going to be great. I'll just get the recording from SF Sketchfest. So I went to Janet and I said, hey, can I have that recording that I did with Weird Al? And she was like, what recording? And then I hit her, because that's how they learn. So
she records everything now.
Now we're being recorded by her recording this.
Exactly. So I would have been the first Nerdist podcast, except nobody hit the record button.
No, not one bootlegger? I am really disappointed.
Darn those non-bootleggers.
Seriously. No one?
What's wrong with you people?
I'm fine with it, though, because now there's this. Now I get to be here for
Now
it.
you guys
I get to go. I've never been to your house before. This is my first time here.
Well, thank you. I've been to your house.
You have.
And it's awesome. When you go to Al's house, he's like, all right, hop on the Segway, and you do a lap around the house on the Segway.
I feel I'm too big for a Segway. Is that possible?
I don't think so.
I tried standing on one at...
If Wozniak can get on a Segway, I think you're fine.
I'm sure he had a custom one built, though. I got on one once, and I just started going back and forth really quick.
Well, that's what everybody does. I mean, the hardest part is just maintaining your balance. There's the first 5 seconds, because your gut reaction is to grab a hold of the handlebars and pull back, to make sure you don't fall off.
Yeah, but then
that just makes you go, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. I can't handle it. Remember when they were going to revolutionize
They were changing the world. Segway.
Sidewalks were going to change.
It was going to change civilization as we know it.
Yeah.
And it has, thankfully.
Now we can tell who's a weirdo.
Yes.
Just on the street. Because you don't take yours out, do you? Do you go to the store with it?
No, it stays in the house, except when I'm on the road. Yeah.
Do you take it along with? I guess it's a good way to get around quickly backstage and stuff.
Well, there's part of we do. I enter the stage on the Segway when I do White and Nerdy in the live
that's right.
show. Yeah. But I'll tell you, I have to say right now, I hate even giving Segway any promotion because they would not cut me any deals whatsoever. You'd think who's going to promote the Segway more than Weird Al Yankovic? And it was in the video, it was on the Tonight Show, it was everywhere. They wouldn't even give me a discount. I don't think we really want to associate with our product with white and nerdy.
Then you guys don't understand your demographic.
No, you don't have your core audience in focus.
Because black hip hop artists are not buying Segways. It is white and nerdy people.
Yeah.
And didn't you also offer to change your name to Segway Al Yankovic?
I did. I offered
that up in my head.
I threw that out there. That was on the table for a while.
Damn it. The last time I saw you in concert was at the Greek. And it was, besides, of course, from the Nerdist Podcast Live.
Yes.
But I saw you at the Greek, I don't know, maybe it was five years ago, and it was amazing. And I've seen you a few times, and every show is super energetic. There's costume changes and video.
Videos are great.
But what I loved seeing was parents with their kid, like people who who listened to you when they were younger, now having their kids and sort of indoctrinating their kids into the Weird Al wheelhouse.
It's pretty great. It's a family show, and the people that were into me when I first started out, 5,000 years ago, are a lot of them are still coming to the shows, and they're bringing their kids and their grandchildren and their great grandchildren and their great great grandchildren.
Your first album, which was in cuneiform, was very well written. But and there's my live show. Unfortunately, is not family friendly. It is basically just a catapult of F-bombs. I should probably work on that.
That's a good album title for you.
Catapult of F-bombs.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Are you doing another one of those Greek shows this summer?
We're not playing the Greek this summer. We didn't want to book an actual LA date until the actual album was out, and that will not be out before the tour or during the tour. But if we might, I don't. The next year's kind of a big question mark. We'll probably tour a little bit next year, and if we do have an album out by then, which hopefully we will, then probably we will play an actual LA date.
There'll be plenty of room for dates because the Dave Matthews Band is taking off 2011.
Oh, are you okay with that? By the way.
Gonna
Are you
be.
okay with that? Matt is a Dave Matthews
It's the
band.
first 20 years they haven't gone off the road. This is the first time.
Maybe he needs
first
to
time
take,
it's gonna be
maybe
no
he needs to
summer
take a
tour.
break and learn some more 20-minute guitar riffs.
Whatever, that's fine.
You okay with it?
No, honestly. Come on.
You think he had an epiphany? It's like, oh, wait a minute.
I better get off the road. Al needs dates. He's got an album coming out.
Share the road with the rest of us. Come on, cut some slack.
Cut some slack, Dave Matthews. He's South African, right?
Yeah,
Dave Matthews.
it's too bad, right?
Why?
I don't know.
Well, he's clearly not racist.
He should go on tour with D. Antwoord.
Oh, these guys are awesome.
Yeah, I'm still confused by it, but the beats are sick. Yeah, sick beats.
That does not sound right coming out of your face.
Come on, those beats are sick, and
Those beats are
those
sick.
raps are tight.
Al was my first concert. Dave Matthews was my second.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Where did you see me? Remember?
It was either at the South Shore Music Circus in Massachusetts or the Cape Cod Melody Tent. I don't remember.
Are those
'cause I
both
get
gone
those,
now?
I get those
Those are
venues.
both awesome
I get
names.
those venues
One's got
confused.
circus and the other one's got melody
Yes.
and tent.
Was at least one of them a round stage that
Yes,
rotated?
a round stage, correct,
I remember,
yes.
it's called those whirly gigs. Have you done that before?
No, I've
Where
not
you get
done
on
it.
stage and the stage will slowly rotate
Yep.
during the course of the show. So they could either have it rotate very slowly or like really kind of whip around pretty quickly.
Oh, the K-Rock Acoustic Christmas shows used to do that because that was the only way they could get the bands on one at a time fast enough. It's like they would divide the circle in half, and then the next band would be setting up,
Right.
and
Oh,
then they
wow.
would spin it.
Yeah, but these are actual theaters in the round where the crowd is all the way around you, and so that you're not staring at the back of a performer for the whole time, they will rotate the stage.
Howie Mandel did a special with one of those.
And it's not shortly before he blew out his sinus from glove-related accidents.
But I got to tell you, the hard part about doing those shows is, as you know, there's a lot of costume changes during my show. So and we can't have usually we can't have the dressing room in the middle of the stage.
Oh, right,
So literally for those shows, I will have to, at the end of a song, jump off the stage, run through the audience all the way to whatever dressing room was in the back of the building, and then run back on stage. So it's like twice as much energy.
After you wobble off and throw up a couple of times
right.
when you're spinning the stage to get your balance.
And that's the other thing, is like I never know what part of the stage I'm supposed to jump off. Like, here? No, there. No, where? What?
It's like a Nintendo game. You're like, oh, I gotta jump on the cloud, and then how do you even? I'm curious.
Clown.
With a guy like you, who literally could probably play an 8-hour straight long show, how do you decide, with each successive tour, what classics to play? Because I'm sure there's people who are always like, how come you didn't play Nature Trail to Hell or whatever?
Yeah, no matter how long of a show I play, it's like, you didn't do that one. It's hard to pick. I mean, I've got working my 13th album. There's a lot of fan favorites and a lot of personal favorites. So I tend to play. There's a small group of songs that I just cannot get away with not playing.
Mm-hmm.
Got Your Fat and Smells Like Nirvana and Amish Paradise and a couple others. So those are probably in the set for the rest of my life.
Right.
And then there's a few songs which are borderline, and then I have to ask myself, do I want to play that this year? I'm tired. There's a lot of words. So it's fan favorites and a lot of kind of just personal choice, like stuff that I really have a fun time playing, and stuff that I always try to throw a few surprises into the show, some oldies that you might not expect me to be playing live. And every now and then I'll have an unreleased song or just something that I cooked up which would work live, but maybe not on record.
Oh,
Is
that's
there
cool.
like a song that is particularly more cumbersome to play as far as costumes and what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff like we're taking a break on It's All About the Pentiums this year. We played the last few tours, and it's a fun song to do, but I get really winded after that song. It's like
And also, it's not
i7,
really about
so
the
no.
Pentiums anymore.
it's like there's some references like the whole Y2K thing. It's kind of blown over at this point.
Hey, we're in Y2K10 now.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting.
Oh my God, the airplane took it fall out of the sky. Well, and the Fats. I think you did Fat.
Fat, yeah,
That's
we're-
got to be an insane costume change.
Yeah, well, it's a very quick change because that's the one time when I have everybody in my entourage in the change booth, and as soon as I go off stage for the Fat change, everybody's helping me into the Fat outfit, and I can get into it in about a minute.
Wait, that's an outfit you don't actually swell like in the video?
I got to talk to you about this, Chris.
Gargantuan proportions? I don't understand.
Chris,
hate to ruin the illusion.
We actually brought you here to talk about this.
What?
It's a Fat intervention.
I don't understand fat suits at all. Wait, so you and Eddie Murphy don't just swell at will? Oh, this changes everything. Oh. By the way, I hope you don't feel violated, but Mike Furman and I touched your Eat It Grammy when you were out of the
I've
room
heard this.
earlier.
I've heard about
Okay, I
that.
can tell you that.
I've
All
heard
right,
that.
good. It was just a light touch on the side.
We can just buff that right out.
That would have been a horrible comedy of errors. Look at this wing on the kink.
Disintegrates completely into dust.
I would literally eat it to eat the Eat It Grammy, which I think would make it okay. If I ate the part that I broke off, that would make it okay.
I think so. The irony would suffice.
There is another ironic thing about you, which is that you are not related to Frankie Yankovic, who was a world-class accordion
king.
player.
That's right. Everybody to this day still assumes, Frank Yankovic's kid, obviously, or at least I must be like his nephew or something like that. But not really any direct relation that we could figure out. I met Frankie years back, and we couldn't find anything in our bloodlines that would really tie us to each other. But obviously, there's something there because we both have the same last name.
Well, except for that shire in Austria where there's just Yankovic people who play the accordion.
We're probably somehow all tied to that shire.
Someone's been watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, maybe I've seen it 50 or 80 times. So the very first time that I ever heard one of your songs was actually Another One Rides the Bus, and I was riding on a school bus at the time.
Wow!
And so it was a weird kind of like, this guy's inside my head. I couldn't wrap my mind around it.
Oh man!
I gotta ask you, why did you never come to Hawaii?
I never come to Hawaii.
You never played. You played all 49
not my
states.
decision.
Right?
Not my. I was like, I will never play in Hawaii.
That's how I was convinced.
I own a house in Hawaii. I love Hawaii,
Yeah.
and I would dearly love to play Hawaii. I'm sort of at the mercy of our the promoters and the buyers, and my booking agent knows I would love to play Hawaii, but it's obviously an expensive proposition to fly everything to the most remote island in the world. And it just has to make enough sense. Basically, I'm not looking to make a lot of money. It's like, if we can play Hawaii and I don't lose money, I'd be happy to play Hawaii.
It's always a proposition. I used to try and get like punk bands and indie bands to come and play. I'd say, well, you're not going to make money, but you will get to come to Hawaii and maybe break even. That was like the only thing we could ever really pitch.
I would totally go for break even kind of proposition for Hawaii. But that's,
Well, if you go to Kauai, even if everyone showed up, you still couldn't sell out a venue.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not enough. Why did Weird Al play Lanai? There's no Did you go to Molokai?
Play the Leper Island. Yeah. Come on, everybody. Clap your hands.
This one's for Father Damien. Let's go.
Clap your hand. Raise the roof. Your arms came off. That's unfortunate. You see, a lot of people think that your limbs just fall off when you have leprosy, but that's not it. It's just that you can't feel anything with leprosy, and so
That's not as funny, though.
Yeah, I know. That's true. That's true. It's not as funny.
You can't feel the gaping holes in your cheek.
I don't know. I just feel my mouth feels more air conditioned for some reason, even when I'm not talking. The very first time that I met you was at it was at some sort of an MTV function in like 1996.
Is this the one you sent me the picture of?
No, I can't remember. No, No. Actually, it wasn't. This it predates that.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. No, I'm not. Wait a minute. Where am I? Did I just have a stroke? You guys smell toast, right? It was some sort of MTV function, and of course I've been a huge fan, and as I would say, every comedian of my generation.
Oh my.
Was influenced by you, but you came up to me, and I was doing Single Out at the time, and you said something like, Now, would you consider me more of a Gilligan or a skipper? Which was a reference to the categories on the show. I was like, I couldn't talk, right? Because it just blew me away that you knew who I was. That was the first, hey, I'm on TV and people are watching me moment that I ever had.
Did you ever like decide which one I was though? I mean,
Well, I would say you're kind of a mix because you definitely have the build that's more similar to a Gilligan, but I think you have a drive that's more of a skipper. But you're also nice like Gilligan. But again,
I'm an enigma.
you are an enigma. You're a skippergan.
Skippergan.
Yeah. By the way, that scraping is the cat.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
She doesn't know how to use the litter box properly, so instead of scooping the sand, she just thinks if you claw at the wall.
Wait, I'll show her. Chris.
Yeah. Oh wait. He's really doing it.
What?
Wow, look at him go! Wow! If you could only... God!
Audio only podcast. I also remember these. I'm just looking at some of all the notes that I made already. From
It's like a crazy man's manifest. That doesn't look like notes.
It is. Well, that's a problem with a comedian's notebook.
The problem with technology.
If you were to find a comedian's notebook, and you didn't know that it was a comedian's notebook, you'd be like, I think I just found a serial killer's notebook.
Yeah.
There's weird stuff like cheerleader boobs, make belts, or whatever. What is that?
I would always write in my notebooks, that's not a suicide note. I would always write that.
But I was just going over some of the old notes that I have, and I love that. First of all, what you told me in that live thing that we did. I did not realize Tress MacNeille played Lucy in the Ricky video.
Yeah, that was like one of her very first gigs ever. I forget where she was from, but she was kind of like fresh in L.A. and looking for work. And
Voice of the crazy cat lady, right?
Right,
From The
yes,
Simpsons.
yes. And she's a million voices. She's one of the highest, one of the most popular voiceover artists working today. But at the time, I mean, this was like 1983, I'm thinking, and I just put an ad in the paper looking for a Lucille Ball impressionist. And 2 people answered the ad, and one of them was Tress MacNeille.
And the other one is still on Hollywood Boulevard to this day.
Dressed up as Tress MacNeille in front of the Hollywood and Vine, next to Spider-Man and other figures of our
both the Spider-Mans.
Both Spider-Man. But I would love to talk about the early days of MTV because I didn't roll along to MTV until '94. Mm-hmm. But just heard all these amazing stories about MTV in the early days. So what is MTV like in the early '80s? Like, what does it feel like to work there?
Well, I never worked at MTV. They obviously played me a lot in the early days because I was the only person at the time that was doing comedy videos. I mean, like Ricky and I Love Rocky Road, and those were ostensibly the first comedy videos on MTV because they just didn't have material. It was kind of easy to get on MTV because at the time they were like, you got a video? We'll play it. We don't have any videos. We're a 24-hour video channel.
Well, yeah, because none of the American bands, they all thought MTV was going to be dumb. Uh-huh. And so that's why there was this British music invasion in the early 80s because all the British bands were like Duran Duran, and they were like, please play please play off stuff, gobbledygoo, or whatever they said.
Like all the artists that had the foresight to be making music videos like in the 70s and the early 80s, like, for the Midnight Special or whatever, like Devo was like heavy rotation on MTV in the early 80s. Not because MTV loved Devo, but because like they actually had a bunch of videos and they already content. So that was it.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, when we think of, we are not in a content shortage at all now. Right. So to think that there was that time. So when you're doing Al TV, what do they? Do they give you notes or what?
No, that was the other thing. It was like, like what you'll do 4 hours of programming. Great. Like, let us know when you're done, and we'll put it on the air.
Oh my god!
And it was literally like I went to like an editing bay and a green screen room, and we set up a little like fake apartment for me. And shot it for nothing, and they paid me nothing, and it was basically 4 hours of me just like goofing on videos and doing like really horrible shtick. But it was like 4 hours of programming, literally anything I wanted to do, and they just slapped it right on the air.
That's amazing. And did you notice pretty quickly, like, oh, this is actually having a cultural impact? Or did you think, like, was it like SCTV where they're like, we're just kind of throwing this into the ether and not really knowing if anyone's watching? Or...
Mostly the latter. It was just sort of like, really, are people watching this? This is pretty crazy. But, I mean, it wasn't too long before we realized that, like, MTV was obviously having a huge impact, and then people were like recognized me on the street for the music videos and for Al TV and stuff like that, and it really was a life changer.
Did you go to the first Video Music Awards?
No, that was the one with like Dan Aykroyd and Bette Midler, right? I don't think I actually went to that one.
I think the first one I remember watching had Cyndi Lauper in it. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I remember.
Which one did Eddie Murphy host? That was like early, right?
I don't remember.
Internet will know.
Did he swell the way that he can make his body swell?
Yeah, once again, it's not
Chris,
real.
we got to talk about that.
What is the problem, you guys?
I don't understand. Not
just
everyone is Robert De Niro in Raging Bull.
He just has mutant glands, like Robert De Niro. Oh, that would have been awesome if Robert De Niro had done that in a fat suit.
That would have been great. Let's
Raging.
remake Raging Bull.
Did you ever say what was it? Wait, no, there was a. What was that? There was a sketch show on like HBO in the early '90s, and they did this thing called Raging Bullwinkle, which was hilarious. It was like, did you fuck my wife? Did you fuck her? I bet you fucked her, didn't you? Like, it was amazing. And it's just this guy in a big Bullwinkle suit with these boxing gloves.
Sounds kind of familiar, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. If only there were some treasure trove of videos
If only
posted on a
someplace.
network that we might all be able to access.
my.
Oh well, I
That'll
guess
be
we'll.
today.
Remember when stuff would air and then it would be over and you'd be like, I guess I'll never see that again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to my wife about this. Like, you know, my kids got like Peanuts DVD, like Charlie Brown stuff. And I remember like when those shows aired the first time, there were no VCRs around. Like, I remember taking an 8mm projector or a 8mm camera and actually shooting a movie of the TV screen when the Charlie Brown.
Oh, wow.
Because I loved it so much.
You invented kinescope.
Yeah. and I would watch like film of the Charlie Brown on TV without sound and go, wow, this is great.
Well, I heard when I worked on Barnyard, which you also did. Which I'll get to that in a minute. But one of the voice actors on that show told us that, you know how all the Peanuts characters, they talk really weird, like this. Hey, Charlie Brown, how come you got that thing in your hand? Or that probably wasn't a line for me. Anyway, but the
why did
reason
they
that
do
they
that?
all talked exactly the same is because there was the guy who voice directed them was not a voice director, and so he just made the kids copy him. So all of that cadence was because of one guy.
Oh,
who
no
was like,
kidding.
No, kids, say it like this. Wow. So it was just because this one guy didn't really know what he was doing, and then it just kind of stuck.
Wow, I had no
Or
idea.
knew what he was doing.
Well, that's
classic.
true. I guess it did ultimately work, but they all do sound
How
mildly.
did he direct the teacher?
Another guy came and went, wah, 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 wah.
No, could you go up on wah? Wait, which wah? The third one. Wah, 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 wah.
Yes.
Nailed it.
He actually came in with a trumpet and a muffler on the end. That's what those are called, the muffler. Yes.
It's a technical term.
But I always feel guilty asking you to do stuff because literally everything I've worked on in the last year and a half, I've asked you to do.
No, that's great, man. Thank you.
Halloween 2, Attack of the Show, Web Soup twice, the Sketchfest thing, the podcast, the live podcast. Barnyard, which you were amazing on, and you're always so generous with your time with this stuff, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you, man. This is fun.
I mean, when we did H2 Halloween 2.
H2.
Well, this is called
I know.
H2.
The kids call it, come on.
Call it H2. I don't have time to say Halloween. I have time to
hydrogen.
explain that I'm not going to say it's Halloween and then go back to H2.
Not to be confused with H2O, the 20th anniversary.
which was the 20th
Halloween,
anniversary.
Jamie Lee
Halloween
Curtis.
too. This was the second. This was a sequel to a branch.
Chris, your nose is bleeding.
Be my constant. Oh, that show's over by now. By the time this goes up, the Lost will be over, and we'll all know what we.
Let's all
spent
pretend to
6
be
years-
Let's all be really
disappointed.
disappointed. Yeah.
Oh. But Rob Zombie called me on a Friday, and he was like, "Hey, you're seen in H2. You're hosting a talk show, and I can you suggest someone who'd be another great guest to harass Malcolm McDowell?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of just became friends with Weird Al." And he's like, "You have to get him on the show." So I emailed Al. Hey, what are you doing Sunday? Want to fly to Atlanta and be in a horror movie? And he wrote back, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm free." So
A great way to spend a Monday, you know? Why not?
Who wouldn't say yes to that, though? Who would go, I don't know, horror movie, huh?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you never.
My manager totally didn't want me to do it. He was like, no, are you kidding me? That's not your audience. Like, well, that's a good idea because like maybe somebody else other than my audience should be seeing you sometime.
Do you kind of have a push and pull with him where he's like, oh, you shouldn't do this thing, and you're like, I'm probably just gonna do it anyway.
Well, yeah, in the early days, I kind of listened to what he said. Now it's kind of like, yeah, right, okay. Thanks for your input.
Here's 15% of my income. Just go over there and play with it, and I'm gonna go over
Take
here.
my money, leave me alone.
Yeah, leave me alone. I'm gonna pay you to stay away from me and not get in my way. But and honestly, traveling with you is amazing because it's just like every type of person from every type of demographic, like heads just turn when you walk through the airport.
Or do they?
Yeah, they do. Although
because I think I fit somebody on the no-fly lists.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes. Like I've seen him before.
Also, you had a clock strapped to your
Yes,
chest
that helps.
and some red sticks.
Right.
I don't know if you can't.
Old-fashioned choice, I thought.
Yeah, but you know what? It worked.
It worked.
You said you had a great story about being mistaken for someone else at a security line?
Oh, Kenny G?
Yes.
Oh.
Are you? Because people always say like, "Are you him? Are you that guy?" And I have to say like, "Well, who are you thinking of?" Like, and the usual response is Weird Al, but every now and then it's Kenny G or Howard Stern or sometimes Gallagher.
Howard Stern.
Yeah.
Gallagher's bald.
Gallagher has no hair left.
Are you Gallagher too?
Yes, I'm Gallagher too. Well, you should stop carrying melons around. If you did that, that would probably. My other
In an
favorite.
anvil case.
And an ammo case, and
giant couch.
and that mime shirt that he wears. My other favorite story that you told when we did the live thing was the Jeff Healey story. So I
Oh
was
gosh,
just
that
hoping,
was so
I was just hoping
uncomfortable.
you could tell that again for the podcast listeners.
Jeff Healey, Jeff Healey and I co-hosted a live music awards show. I think it was. in
Jeff Healey,
Canada.
by the way, blind like blues singer.
Yeah.
For people who don't know.
Yeah, and it was a bold choice for them to have a blind person co-hosting an award show, and he had his script on Braille, and he had his lines down, and it was actually a pretty gaffe-filled show to begin with. There was a lot of technical difficulties, a lot of things going wrong, a lot of cues were missed. But the worst part of the whole show was when we were in the middle of some kind of sketch, and I actually I left the stage in the middle of the sketch for some reason or another, and Jeff was not even aware of it. So he continued to try to carry on a conversation with me on stage on live TV for minutes after I had left the stage. And it was just the most uncomfortable thing you would ever witness in your life.
Although he might be like, this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. There was no one did not have IFBs. Like you would think, like maybe put a thing in the guy's ear. And
that would have probably helped. Like, he's gone.
But instead, the entire audience at once just said, "Al left the stage."
They were too busy going,
Oh, I can't see anything, but I just felt the air get sucked out of the room. Harvey the Wonder Hamster,
My best friend in the whole world.
still alive after all these years.
Let's say he is.
still not biting or squealing?
Still not. Still not.
Still loves to run around his hamster wheel.
No, should I give away any kind of traits? Because I hesitate to because you're still stuck on the whole people swelling to fat size.
Right. Well, they do. All you have to do is go into a Cracker Barrel and watch it happen in real time.
Yeah. No, actually, I think there's been a different Harvey for every single Al TV because after every episode we give away Harvey to a good home.
By give away to a good home, you mean destroy with a
Yes,
mallet?
flush down the toilet.
Right.
No. To usually do it to a crew member whose kid wants a hamster, or sold on eBay, or flung out the window. I mean, it's really your choice. It's really once out of my hands, it's like up to you. But yeah, we found out pretty early on to make sure that it was a hamster that had been played with a lot before it got to the show, because for a few shows, the hamster doesn't like being handled by a strange person, and
Right.
if I'm trying to do shtick with it,
Right.
If it was a undomesticated hamster, like most of the ticks would be like, "Oh, Harvey, ow!" Harvey, like, ow!
And then there really is just a reflexive smash against the.
Oh god. Oh,
Maybe
not again.
Maybe he just didn't like comedy. Maybe
Perhaps not.
Maybe you actually accidentally got a Harvey the Drama Hamster who just wanted to work in the theater.
Don't do a
Thespian hamster.
Thespian hamster. This is so beneath me. Nibble, nibble, nibble. Did anyone ever complain about like, how can you do that?
Of course. That's with anything that you do, no matter how ironic or how obviously fake it is. I mean, in the beginning we used, like when we do the cutaway where I'm throwing an obviously fake hamster out the window or against a wall or whatever. In the beginning we were really concerned because we obviously didn't want people thinking we were throwing a hamster, so in the cutaway we'd have like a fur ball that was literally like 3 times the size of the original hamster, so it'd be like super obviously fake. And people still complaining like, how could you do that to that poor little thing? Like, at that point we're like, okay, if you get it or you don't get it, we're just gonna make the hamster look real and do it anyway. And
It's a bunch of Chris Hardwicks watching and complaining. How would
That's
you
what
do
it
that to
is.
them?
By the way, and it makes me very happy that those type of non-irony getters have managed to leak into every form of media.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about Twitter all the time.
Yeah. You cannot say anything on Twitter, like, ironically, like and people have to comment on it, like, gee, I'm here at Disneyland on Labor Day weekend and it's busy. Who knew? Well, I knew because it's Labor Day weekend and people go on Labor Day weekend because that's a busy time of the year. Why didn't you know that? You should know that.
I'm gonna show him. #mer.
Didn't you have a?
Oh, you poor fool.
Didn't I have a what?
Didn't you have a falling out with some Jonas Brothers fans?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, yesterday I lost a handful of followers. I went to the Grove in LA, which is a big outdoor fancy mall that you should never do on a Saturday, period, anyway. But I was driving by and I'm like, I need to swing by and swap something out. And I walked in and there are thousands of teenage girls like freaking out, like, they're over there, oh my god, man. Like, and it turns out the Jonas Brothers are performing at the Grove yesterday.
Wow.
And teenage girls are really creepy because they swarm and they hunt in packs, and so they were trying to
They're like
spot the
raptors.
Jonas Brothers everywhere. And so so I said something like, I love the Jonas Brothers, they're my favorite lesbian band or something. And then people were like, you're a jerk, how dare you, what are you? And I blocked a few people because I'm like, if you think the Jonas Brothers are awesome, you shouldn't be following me. You just shouldn't be following me.
Yeah, you dumb little 12-year-old girl. Is that what you
Well,
said?
that's what I'm saying. No, but
said.
I don't know if I really have anything that a 12-year-old girl is going to care about that I
Well.
say,
When she's 13.
All right. Legal in Tonga. The other Twitter thing that I had that I thought I was clearly being sarcastic was, hey, here's an environmental tip. You should use baby wipes in the bathroom because they're better for the environment. Of your asshole, in parentheses. All these people were like, no, it takes them much longer to break down in the environment. And I'm like, what part of the parenthetical in my asshole did you think I was serious
That
about?
works on any sentence.
It's the new in the bedroom. Yeah. Fortune cookies.
Yes.
You will live a rich and prosperous life in your asshole.
That's beautiful.
Why? What is wrong with people?
Good question, Chris.
I think we're going to figure it out today.
Al,
Today-
please, what is wrong with people?
Nerdist podcast.
Figuring out people since 2010.
We're going to fucking break down the walls of society, man. I'm really going to do it.
How have you seen videos change in the last 25 years?
Well, they've gone to a stage where the budgets got very big, like around Puff Daddy time.
Right.
Yeah.
And now we're to the point again where it's like people just, you may not have heard this, but the record industry is sort of in trouble.
What?
I didn't want to say anything.
Oh, but I got a bunch of labels to see me play tonight at the Hotel Cafe. I got a lot of sensitive songs that I want to.
Does David Geffen know? I got to
No one better
David
tell him.
Geffen.
Panic. Well, which was one of the reasons why I'm now, instead of doing the big budget music videos, I'm trying to do a lot more videos, but keep the budgets down. And just work with a bunch of very talented people that can do a lot for little money. Everybody wants it to be the new OK Go because they do amazing videos for very little money. I mean, once their treadmill video came out, everybody wanted to figure out how to do the next treadmill video.
Right.
But it's not as easy as like, okay, here's $5,000 making a genius video.
Right.
It takes talent, which is in fairly short supply.
Wait a minute. First, there's no fat people that can turn fat, and now you're saying that everyone's not super talented? I am learning so much today on the Nerdist podcast. Well, they're genius. I mean, just in terms of coming up with simple ideas that look like work.
Yeah.
But when they execute them properly, are insane. But your videos, all those videos that you released last summer, like CNR and Craigslist. I mean, you worked with some great directors. You did Jib Jab and then
Super
Liam
News
Lynch.
Guys.
Super News, yeah, for right
R.I.P.
now, yeah.
as of last Thursday.
That's right. I heard about that.
Canceled.
So are they doing a new show now?
Josh is he's got some stuff in the works, but as a collective, they are now done.
Oh, that's too
Did they do
bad.
a Super News about them getting canceled?
Yeah, they should. They really should. It would basically probably be just them making fun of Al Gore the whole time.
It's a great show. They couldn't make fun of Al Gore on that show, apparently.
Not allowed. It was really weird because I had tons of Al Gore ideas when I was writing on it. And I just could not. They would not let me. It was a bummer. But then I ended up making fun of Twitter.
But that was genius, though. Your Twitter video.
Thank you.
That is someone that could. I don't know. You should always be willing to make fun of yourself.
You know, Al Gore should have been on Super News, like doing just a really bad Al Gore impression.
Yeah, but we had all kinds of ideas, and I think it wasn't so much Al Gore as it was, Jeff Hyatt or whatever the main guy that ran Current was.
Just didn't want to mess with it.
Yeah, he didn't want to bother. He didn't want to be too inclusive.
Might get canceled or something.
Yeah, exactly right.
You guys
Someone
could've-
might pay attention to Current TV.
You guys could have pitched Hal Gore. What are you doing, Dave? This is highly irregular.
Even especially after he did that stuff on 30 Rock, which was so like making fun of himself, and it's like there's a whale crying and then flying away.
Did you see Buzz Aldrin on 30 Rock?
Not
It was
yet.
so funny.
Yeah.
No.
He was on as himself, yelling at the moon. It's so funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's done a couple funny things lately, like that wrestling. Did you see the wrestling video?
No.
Wait, I got to stop here. That just reminded me. That's another one of the ironic thing. I had met Buzz Aldrin at a Simpsons premiere party thing, and I posted I had a tweet because I just ran into Buzz Aldrin. He's still going off about this crazy walking on the moon thing, and people were like, "He really did walk on the moon." I can't believe. Seriously, people got so upset that I was insisting that he didn't walk on the moon.
Rather than people just lashing out at you, I wish they would just lash out by saying, I am a person with a lot of sensitive hot buttons. I am a minefield of anger that at any minute you could step on one thing and I am going to explode.
I'm sorry. I hate Canadians.
You and your health care and your ketchup-flavored chips. What else did I write down? Oh, wait, I still get... I'm not saying we have to do this. I still get tweets from people who are like, when are you going to do Yank Hard?
Yeah.
Because we jokingly said that we were going to collaborate on something and call it Yank Hard.
Nice.
And
Someday it will happen.
The Yank Hard reunion. Oh, let me just go back and say, don't think it didn't escape my nerd sensors. You, Buzz Aldrin, at a Simpsons premiere of sorts.
Yeah.
Like, that is a cluster of awesome.
That
Was this the movie? Was this the
No,
Simpsons
it
movie?
was like their 20th. Was it 20th? Yeah, their 20th anniversary party or something like that. So it was just some big thing in a big airplane hangar or something like that, and they had like a booth set up, carnival arcade kind of thing. It's just a big kind of.
Did you ever do The Simpsons?
Yeah, I was on twice.
Which episode?
3 Gays of the Condo.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember when they redesigned. Yes, when he goes and moves in with the.
And I had to serenade
with Scott Thompson, right?
Marge to get her to move back in with Homer.
Oh, that's nice. What are some fun? The Naked Gun series.
Oh yeah.
How did you get involved with the Zucker Brothers?
Well, Robert K. Weiss, who produced Naked Gun, he was the. I worked with him a bit. He's an old friend. He co-directed some of my early videos. He co-directed The Complete Al, which is like an old home video that I did for CBS Fox like in the mid-'80s. And the Police Squad was my all-time favorite show. It had 6 episodes total, but I just thought it was genius. I love the Zucker Brothers. I love the airplane and all that. And when I heard they were going to be doing a movie based on Police Squad, I just wrote, this is before email, I actually wrote,
what?
Bob Weiss, and I just said, I don't care what it is. I'll be in a crowd scene. I'll do craft services. I just want to be somehow involved in this movie. This is going to be awesome. And he told the guys, and they actually wrote that scene in for me, or me coming off the airplane.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
They're not here for you, Frank.
He also had a quick cameo in Tapeheads.
That's right. That's right.
Found out. Sorry, I wanted to get this from the other room. We just found out, by the way, that John Cusack is the same build as Jonah Ray, which is shocking because I thought John Cusack was my height. Turns out he's like 6'4".
Shaka Zulu, you mean?
Yeah, at Shaka Zulu. I think he might just be John Cusack now. I think
Oh, he went back to I think so.
What's that?
Is he still willfully misspelling things to make people upset?
Yeah, he really loves to do that.
Oh, it makes me upset. Mission accomplished, John.
He doesn't cur.
Are we going to turn into like, hey, John Cusack, like we're the people? Is he doing it on purpose, or is he just a poor?
I think
speller?
I think he just does it really quick and just kind of stream of consciousness, and he just doesn't bother checking.
Yeah.
And then people complain about it, and I think it only fuels him to just do it even more.
Yeah, but that was my first big screen. Was my first one of my first big.
We just
screen-
push him out of the way, right?
Yeah, it was
Tim
before-
Robbins and John Cusack.
Yeah, I saw him in the face with a door walking out of a record studio.
This is an episode of Police Squad. I've got episodes of Police Squad on my phone.
Can we clear that?
What? What are you talking about?
Now I heard how they
okay,
open,
you
they
don't
open
like a
every
dime
episode
off
with
this.
somebody dying, like
Yeah,
their
yeah,
special
yeah.
guest star, and they like roll out of a car with a bullet. in
Like
their head or something.
Shatner or
Yeah, I heard. I don't know if this is an urban legend, but I'm pretty sure that one of the people was John Belushi.
Oh.
But he OD'd like right before the episode was
And
gonna
that was
air.
their idea too.
Yeah.
And
What?
so they couldn't.
So they didn't never aired that opening. So I wonder if that was never like even a DVD extra. That's like some lost footage.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
If anyone out there is listening
Did
and
you see?
have that footage.
Did you see Black Dynamite?
No.
I think you'll really like it. I think it's
Jonah, I watched it because you wouldn't shut up about
Yeah.
it, and it is amazing. Black Dynamite.
So what is it?
It came out last year. It went to Sundance. It's just that this couple guys wrote it, and they star in it, and it's basically a satire of a blaxploitation film, and it is
So good.
amazing because not only is there the film that like the story that they're making, the secondary film is basically. Like you see booms in the
it's just
shot,
all
and
gas, kind of like a Garth Marenghi style, like where it's just like like boom shots coming in, horrible like pushing in and like panning down, like just really clunky shots. People like there's one of the best moments is there's like a fight scene and the guy accidentally slaps one of the dude. He's like fake fighting. And the guy, like, they get slapped, like, what the fuck? And they cut, and there's just a different guy in the same clothes.
but it's so well done, and something that most comedy doesn't do that often anymore, at least in film, is that a lot of comedy I feel like is so aware, like comedy movies are so aware that we're being funny and satirical. And what was so great about the early Zucker stuff is that they played it straight. And that is exactly what Black Dynamite is. And Janet, I pulled it up on the Xbox, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know about this," and I'm like, "No, trust me, I hear it's amazing." And we loved it. It's amazing.
It's a great parody.
I got to see that.
Yeah, you have to see
I
it.
think we talked about this too. I can specify exactly when the whole Naked Gun series kind of like made that turn because Police Squad, Leslie Nielsen was totally
Flawless.
deadpan.
Yeah.
Just like an airplane. I mean, just like he was not acting at all like it was a comedy. And there was a certain point when I was watching the first Naked Gun movie where I realized like. He thinks it's funny now because he was like starting to do like the mugging to the camera and like doing the comic takes. And it became a whole different kind of thing for me because it wasn't like the initial formula of like playing it like it's totally straight.
That's the best part about I think that's the best parodies is just like you that's what's great about Black Dynamite is that all the actors are playing it like it's that movie, and if everyone plays it straight, the situation will be funnier.
Right.
Yeah, I think it might have been the funniest movie that came out last year.
I think so. I think it's one of the
Black
best
Dynamite.
comedies of the first decade of the new millennium. I really do like from 2000 to 2010. I think that's one of the best.
Jai Michael White was the guy.
Yeah, the guy who played Spawn in the Spawn movie.
Yeah, he was great.
Hilarious.
Going to my
Tommy
Netflix
Davidson.
queue right now. That's
Tommy
it.
Davidson is in it and hilarious.
Arsenio Hall's in it
Arsenio
too.
Hall is
Really?
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really just fucking funny.
I mean, it's hard. I guess I understand as a comedian, though, that it is hard if you're playing something super straight and you feel like you're not doing anything, that you kind of have this comic thing of, oh, I didn't do anything. Maybe I need to do something to be funny. So maybe that's what he was suffering
But
from.
that's what a director's for. They're supposed to say, no, it's funnier not to do that.
Right.
Even when I'm like doing sketches where like I'm like, you got to play it straight. Don't say a joke. Don't make yourself aware of anything else. Don't act like that's a dolphin that's about to rape you.
I just feel like there's so much precious comedy that's being done in films now, where it's like we're adorable and funny, and we're just dicking around.
Well, that's what we were talking about just like with Wet Hot American Summer. What I liked about it is that it was a parody of summer camp movies from the 80s, but it also kind of was one on its own, which I think that's what Black Dynamite is great because it is a blaxploitation movie that has an awesome Baron Vaughn in the first scene. Like he's like the guy's like, what are you jive turkeys talking about? I ain't no snitch. I gotta go back to the streets where I come from.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Well, Scream kind of worked on the level too because it was a total kind of slasher film, but it was like a parody of slasher film.
Or for instance, UHF was another film that was a comedy
really
classic.
quick though, Scream I think is such a great movie, and it will never get the respect it would have had if it weren't for the sequels and the scary movies. Like I feel like it's like people forget about how groundbreaking Scream was when it came out, and how like it really regenerated the whole horror scene.
Scream 4 will save it.
Yes,
Man,
in 3D.
Those are just all like the bastard children. It's like when a great king has a bunch of kids and they're all fuck ups. You know, like that's what I feel like. The first Scream was amazing, and then all the scary movie, and then this movie, and the hero movie. Like,
I think they killed like 3 even has Jay and Silent Bob in it.
Yeah,
like in a cameo.
although a couple of the follow up, a couple of the scary movies were pretty funny though, right?
I never really watched any of them.
All right. Well, let's not talk about those anymore then.
David Cross's
he
wheelchair
did like
guy was
3 and
funny.
4, or he did a couple of the scary
I
movies.
think he did the first ones, and then the Wayans brothers took it.
If I remember
first,
and then he did
took
like
over.
I think either 3 or 4.
I think 3 was I saw 1 and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of funny, and I think it might have been 3.
I didn't
I
see
think it might have been 3. I definitely did watch Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors the other night.
That's one of my favorites. That and Dream Master are my favorite.
I saw that
sequels.
at last year at the New Beverly Cinema. They had Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and Fright Night.
Fright Night.
There's a good double feature coming up at the New Beverly. It's Mystery Team, which is the Derek comedy movie that looks really funny, and Ghostbusters.
Nice.
Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters.
I don't understand.
I call it Mike Furman. He'll sing the song for you. He'll say every line. One time,
Another Belushi reference.
Me, Hardwick, and Furman were at the Powerhouse randomly one night, and they had Ghostbusters was playing on the TV, and with no sound. But between Chris and Mike, they were saying every person's line back and forth.
It was pretty
and they
bad.
never stumbled on each other, which was great. They never started someone's line at the same time.
It was-
They were volleying back and forth for the first 15 minutes.
That's
of
a
the
fun
movie.
drinking game you can play is see how well you know a comedy, like or you don't have to be drinking. I don't drink. It's a fun heroin
fun
game
crack
you can play. See how long you can hold on. But you put on a comedy and you turn the sound off and you just see how far you can go into the movie with the lines. But I want to talk about UHF for a minute because
I still want to talk about Ghostbusters.
oh, you do?
Does Huey Lewis still make money from every time Ghostbusters play?
He does.
He must have got. I think he got a pretty good settlement because
Yeah.
they asked him to do the original theme song to Ghostbusters, and he was like, "Nah, I don't think I want to do that." And they were like, "Okay, we're gonna take I Want a New Drug," and then they did that. And
Right.
Ray Parker Jr.
Did
recorded it.
you ever get to talk with Huey Lewis about I Want a New Duck or anything like that, or was it all just the legal?
Yeah, I ran into him after the fact briefly, and he was like, "Oh, hey, thanks for the money."
Oh yeah, what is that process like? I'm sure you've answered this question a million times. Well, what is the process like? Do you write the song first and then try to get it approved?
No.
Or do you have to see who.
That's a waste of time sometimes.
You have to see.
Here, I spent a year working on this. What do you think? I hate it. Okay, thanks for wasting
They
my
can
life.
really. I thought you could cover any song you wanted, basically.
Well, that is it's all a gray area, as I always say. But covering something is different than changing it because that's a derivation of a work.
Okay.
So it's I always give permission because. Not that I necessarily need to. I mean, the Supreme Court has always ruled in favor of parody artists and fair usage
Right.
and all that. But, it's better not to get in any kind of potentially litigious situation with anybody. And I just never want to get on anybody's bad side, particularly if they have a well-armed posse.
Right. Yeah.
Rolling down the street on their big wheels.
Yeah.
That Huey Lewis posse that goes around.
They're tough.
Oh,
It's the news. It's
Yeah,
the news.
Yeah.
That bass player.
Yeah.
That bass player with the sunglasses. He's rough.
Yo, HL, what's up with this dude?
Hip to be square. Bullshit. Bam, 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 bam.
But Huey Lewis has said that directly Ghostbusters got him involved with Back to the Future.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was
He
his
was like,
major reaction, too.
He was like, you know what? Fine. They might do it too. Let me
And then he
hop
made
on this.
awesome songs for those movies. Yeah.
He really did.
Thanks, Huey.
So who has turned you down? I want to know who's super serious.
Yeah, I mean, the one that's I always mention is Prince because he's just never ever just even given a reason. Just
He
kinda
seems fun.
he seems like a wacky guy with a great sense of humor. They would just love any kind of
Purple is a fun color.
It is. Like after I saw Purple Rain, I thought, that guy is a nut.
Prince to me just looks like a walking mood ring. Like that purple, and then he's tiny. You can fit in your hand. You could wear him like a ring. He's quick though. Like Prince is quick, like a mouse.
He's wiry.
Yeah. You can't they have to trap him to take him out to do shows because he's in the walls and they gotta set up the Prince
He's
traps.
like a ferret. He's like a human ferret.
Yeah. He is. He's adorable. He's not. You can't legally own Prince in California.
No.
But in other parts of the country, you can have a Prince for a pet.
Didn't Paul McCartney say no to chicken pot pie?
He did, but that was just because he and Linda were strict vegetarians, and he just didn't want to encourage the consuming of animal flesh. Which I wasn't really encouraging it either. I just thought it was a funny joke.
Right.
Chicken pot pie, because the chorus of was a parody of "Live and Let Die."
Right.
And I had brilliantly changed the chorus to.
Did you record this?
No, we did. I did it live in concert for a few years, but we never actually.
I have a
recorded
bootleg of it.
But Paul still has a great sense of humor. I mean, he actually appeared. I actually got to direct Paul McCartney last year. He appears in a 3D movie that I directed called Al's Brain in 3D.
Yes.
So that was a thrill.
But you showed me that footage, and it's really amazing because
I showed you the raw footage.
You showed the raw footage, and Al is so just kind of gingerly trying to direct him, and Paul seems like a guy he seems affable but firm at the same time.
Yeah.
Where he's not
going to waste his time.
He's not going to waste his time, and you kind of had to, they agreed to do it, but then you sort of had to hijack them because they just wouldn't. Well,
here's the whole story. I was looking for a cameo appearance in the Al's Brain thing. The format of the movie was sort of like a viewer mail thing or a man on the street interview thing where people would randomly appear on monitors throughout a set and ask a question, and then I would answer about whatever the question they had about the human brain. So I had various friends and relatives and character actors doing things, and at the end I wanted a big celebrity cameo, and I thought, we'll just go out to all these people that we're never ever going to get, and we went out to and we're getting rejection letters yes, Brad Pitt would love to do it, but he's in Germany and blah blah blah.
Right.
And we're getting down on the list and thinking, when are we going to call Gary Coleman? And out of the blue, one morning, 8:00 in the morning, I get a call from London yes, this is Paul McCartney's office, and he'd like to know what you'd like him to do, and when will you be available for him to do this? And I was like, whatever Paul wants to do, that'd be great. We'd love to do it.
Yeah, Paul McCartney's office. Bullshit, lady. Nice fake accent. Click.
I'm a man.
Yeah. So he was originally going to record it in his at his own place with his own camera crew. At his own convenience, but he kind of never got around to it, and our deadline was approaching. And I saw that he was playing Coachella here in Southern California, and we called up and said, because you said Paul would do this, and we haven't gotten any tape from you yet, we're just going to show up there and hope that he will give us 3 minutes of his time, and we'll bring the camera crew. And they said, okay. So we set up in his dressing room, we waited around all day, and he came in, 3 minutes, banged it out, and we got it.
I thought it was so much fun because he would do it, and then you go, okay. So this time have a little fun with it, and he'd be like, I think we got it. Friendly but firm. You'd be like, okay, great. Yeah. But
it was no. He said, I think we've got it already, but I'll do it again. No, he was very nice, very sweet.
And but you didn't hang out with him after that?
No, he's kind of a busy guy, Chris. He was actually he was performing that night, and he was going through all these people. Actually, I was in the same setup in the same room with a guy from the BBC who had flown out to do this interview with Paul McCartney. Very proper. I'm not going to say stuffy, but very very proper British guy. Just setting up, and we thought, he's a very serious BBC guy. And 10 minutes before Paul McCartney was set to walk in, he comes over and he goes, I can't believe Paul McCartney's going to be here and be interviewing Paul McCartney. Oh my God. You're more nervous than I was.
I loved watching, when we worked on the Halloween 2 movie, by the way, speaking of proper Britishmen, it was fun kind of watching you nerd out over Malcolm McDowell.
That was pretty insane.
And Malcolm was in the middle. You made that joke, right?
Yeah.
So
Twit pick.
So
I can't believe you said Malcolm in the middle.
That's already a show. I think it'd be great if someone made a mashup of Malcolm in the Middle, but you just put Malcolm McDowell instead of Frankie Muniz and everything. Someone with a lot of free time can make that happen. But, Malcolm would just tell these stories about oh yes, and then we had this dinner party with Michael Caine and Peter Sellers.
I couldn't even, it was one of those kind of things where I just couldn't believe where I was. I was just sitting on a set, either changing the lighting or something, and Malcolm it was just two of us on set. He's telling me about some dinner party at Peter Sellers' house, and just going on with these stories, and I'm just, trying to commit them to memory because like I can't believe like Malcolm McDowell's like telling me these amazing anecdotes.
Now they shot those dinner parties as a documentary, and that film was Caligula. But I do want to talk about UHF for a second.
Yes.
Just going back to it because it is like it was certainly an influential comedy for me as part of my comedy development. I mean, genius. So did you? How did that movie come about? And like what was the writing process? And
It was
Michael Richards insane?
It was written in the days before computers. Remember, I wrote that with my manager Jay Levy. We had both conceptualized the idea of just writing some kind of movie where I would be able to do parodies and commercial takeoffs and things like that. And so we had trying to come up with some kind of skeleton of a plot and basically be able to just hang all these kind of sketches and parody bits on it. And we came up with the idea of me like having a TV station that was in trouble and basically being like, well, a UHF station, and which is now, I guess there's no more UHF stations. It wasn't that long ago they decided to kind of like take that whole bandwidth away, right?
Right.
So it's a complete anachronism now. But at the time, that was a good comedy vehicle for us.
That means no one can ever remake it.
There you go.
What are you talking about? I'm in development for UHF.com.
What?
Which, it's revamping.
It's a fledgling website.
Reimagination of it.
So we just sat around for about a half a year and just wrote it out longhand on notebook paper and drove each other crazy. And we kind of divided it up. We decided that I would write all the funny stuff, and Jay would write all the stuff that sucks. And we just kind of like intertwined them together, and then we had a movie.
And when it's like he's credited as the director, but were you pretty much directing as well?
Well, not directing per se, but I mean, obviously, I was there like leaning over his shoulder, like going, "What are you doing that for?"
Who was the? You told me that the "Hey Mister" like that guy was somebody.
Vance Colvig. The bum in UHF was he was in a few David Lee Roth videos in drag. I don't remember if you remember. Hey, Mr. Right. Remember him?
Yeah. In the Crazy from the Heat album.
But he also had performed with Spike Jonze, and he was also, believe it or not, the original Bozo the Clown.
Whoa.
Wow.
So like 1950s Bozo.
40s or 50s, yeah, something like a long time ago.
So you didn't want to put in like a weird scene where Bobo the clown goes outside and runs into that homeless guy.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Why that weird outfit?
We can recut it.
Yeah.
Special edition.
The special edition.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, we'll go. Just get George Lucas and ILM to go in there and CG in that
some weird
scene like Jabba.
UHF is the movie every time I move or get a new television. That's the movie I watch first.
Wow.
It's a weird.
It's true, but I love it. It's happened.
thank you, man.
Great. It's a great movie.
Not that I
One of
want
my
you to
favorites.
dish on Michael Richards, but was he a pretty nice guy back then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was very surprised by the events of a couple of years ago. I mean, he was completely fine. And,
He did ask us if there were any black people working on the
He
film.
did, he
That
did.
was weird. But anyway.
No, I can't. I know he's Michael's a friend, although I haven't seen him in a few years. But he was completely fine during the shooting.
We're gonna wrap it up soon.
Really quick, I got to know though about the weird twin guys who are in the telethon.
The Cooper Kids. The Cooper Kids. If you have seen The Forbidden Zone, they are featured in that. They are performance artists. I've seen them play around LA. Their shows are just indescribable. They will just like go through a 15-minute segment where they do nothing but pour baked beans on each other.
Wow.
I mean that's their act.
All right, light me at 14. All right, I'm getting the light. I'm just gonna pour another couple beans.
And here's the kind of the funny part. One of them is an investment banker, and the other one is married to Bette Midler.
What? Whoa! Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Although that might be the same guy, but this
You never know. They're like dead ringers, Cronenberg.
I met Bette Midler's brother. He used to come into the record store in Hawaii that I worked at.
Rhett Midler?
Yeah.
Guessing that
evil twin.
That was his name. Or was it actually Bet? You're like, you look a lot like your. Oh my god! Then you realize she's just going around dressed as a dude.
Just it helps her to live a normal
That's
life.
good. Who were some of your influences? You must have been a Tom Lehrer fan.
Tom, absolutely. We talked about this a lot. Tom Lehrer, Spike Jonze. I rip off Spike Jonze on my polka medleys all the time. There's always a little Spike Jonze kind of riff or reference.
Well, Furman and I ripped off your polka medleys when we did a bluegrass medley of Radiohead songs.
Oh yes, yes.
Which we always is this thing we made called Rodeohead, and we always said it is as much a tribute to Weird Al as it is a tribute to Radiohead.
Well, thank you, sir.
Well, of course.
Thank you.
And the bluegrass movement.
And the alt rock bluegrass movement that's sweeping the country.
Yes. Who else? Stan Freberg, who I was honored to work with on the Weird Al show. He came in and did the voice of the, or actually came in and performed as the network executive, J.B. Toppersmith. And he also was the voice of the sock puppets. We did a little show called the Fred Huggins Show, which was like the show within a show. And I played this sort of like amalgam of Fred Rogers and Captain Kangaroo, this weird, creepy kitty show host called Fred Huggins. And there were these two little sock puppets that just hated me and wanted me dead, and one was Papa Bully and one was Baby Bully. And that was Stan Freberg and his son Donovan Freberg.
Wow.
That's amazing. Have you ever worked on anything? Because some guy took it upon himself to archive all of your videos onto YouTube. So these huge like playlists.
Oh, yes.
That are categorized by era.
Oh,
This is very meticulous.
That is a fan who actually goes by the name of Fred Huggins.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is there? Well, that's surprising that he would reference a really super specific thing and then be the guy that catalogs everything by era. Is there anything that's up there where that you're kind of like, I wish that wasn't up there. I wish I had. Like, is there something that you've worked on that you're like, maybe not so much that thing?
I'm not proud of everything I've ever done, but it's sort of like you kind of in the internet age, you kind of get over it quickly. It's sort of like there's a lot of stuff out there. There's many things on the internet I'm not particularly proud of, especially that sex tape. Man, I wish that...
You'd think because it helped Kim Kardashian,
You'd think.
it helped Pamela, and, I guess it's just different if you're a parody artist.
guess.
It's just not going to be really the same thing.
The night vision goggles I thought were a good touch, though.
It gives everything a nice, healthy green glow.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like you're making love on another plane.
Yes.
All right, so really quickly. Oh, by the way, VH1 had approached Al, and they were like, "Hey, we want to do a show called The Search for the Next Weird Al." And then Al said,
But I'm still Weird Al. I wasn't planning on going away anytime soon.
"Yeah, you really have. I can't think of anyone else who has cornered a market in the way that you have cornered this market. Like when anyone ever does any, and it's not like, I mean, you're not like Microsoft or anything. You don't kick anyone off the hill who tries to challenge you. It's just." Whenever someone does a parody song, it's like, yeah, but Al does that, so there's really no point anymore, which is an amazing feat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I get this slowed down a little bit, but I used to get approached all the time for variety shows or for reality shows, and literally they were all that. It was sort of like you could have a team of people working on parody songs and have like arguments and creative differences, and like. No, that is an awful idea, and I could spend an hour telling you all the reasons why that's a bad idea, or I can just leave. Goodbye.
Because you're a nice guy and you seem to like fun things, and you don't seem jaded at all. You got a nice family. Like, I don't know, it's just a good study. And hey, you can be successful and a nice person at the same time, and it's totally all right.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Chris.
All right. I think we've pretty much. I mean, we could literally. I feel like
I got a question though.
No, we don't have any time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're not. We can take as much time as we want.
No, I was always wondering if I enjoy your originals a lot.
Oh, the original songs, yes.
Yeah, it's like, and they're always a different style. It's like they're parody style songs. Which, if you had to pick a style though, if you wanted to just start a band, and you had a style, which song would it probably be closest to? Would it be like Frank's 2000-inch TV, or would it? Yeah.
Well, I'm a big fan of. I thought.
And do you need a drummer for that band? That's a two-part question.
Bermuda's still around though. Sorry. If we'll keep you. Okay, you're in the Rolodex.
Sweet.
We'll keep in mind.
Check it out.
If Bermuda Shorts is like, I gotta get some new shorts, and he can't do a tour, then Jonah.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the quote unquote alternative and indie music of the '90s. I thought the '80s were very kind of synthesizer heavy, and the '90s I liked the whole grunge movement and the whole kind of alt rock movement. And now we're back to music that I kind of don't like so much anymore. But there was a period of time, like mid '90s kind of, band, like Frank's 2000-inch TV, like REM kind of stuff. Any of that kind of. I like. Well, I don't want to go on a laundry list of band names that I like, but I mean stuff that's a little quirky and guitar driven and just kind of a little left of center.
Yeah.
But Hardware Store was freaking amazing.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Like. How many tracks was that stacked on top of each other?
Oh God, I don't know, a dozen vocal tracks or so. That wasn't even one of my bigger productions. I think my biggest production was on the last album, Pancreas, which was my kind of Brian Wilson homage.
Yep.
I think we're into the triple digits on the tracks on that. It was insane because there was like a zillion vocal tracks and like so many different instruments. I don't know if you ever saw the making of video that came on the album, but it was like me in the studio and like we're like just like Brian Wilson does, I'm sure, just kind of going in and just experimenting with stuff and like recording like, you know, bicycle bells and live strings and just like toys and odd kitchen appliances and just anything and just trying to make music out of it.
Yeah, Brian Wilson is either the least ironic person in the world or the most ironic person in the world. Like, I can't
Least.
figure out where you think it is. And he's like,
think it's least.
Everything is so. That's why I love seeing the difference between him and like John Lennon. Like, you can really see the difference between those two bands where. If John Lennon were to write a song about vegetables, it would be some sort of weird reference to something else. And
Glass
Brian
onion.
Wilson literally just sings
vegetables.
about vegetables.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, I
like
just want to sing about my favorite vegetables.
John Lennon would dress like a crazy, you know, band leader from space, ironically, where Brian Wilson wore a crazy American top hats, and you know, just like as a serious.
Don't you like my hat? Oh, it's funny, right? Why?
Why? It's really big.
Well, in any case, you continue to be a good friend and an amazing guy, and I will hopefully catch you this summer. And what's the tour? Where's the tour going?
Well, it's going all over North America. You can check the tour dates on WeirdAl.com.
Interesting.
Locally
You have
here,
to type it in like that. Weird Al.
Yes.
lower your voice. But locally here, you guys, you're invited to my shows at the Pacific Amphitheater, which
Oh,
will be in
sweet.
Costa
Nice.
Mesa, August 13th and 14th, I believe.
I'm there.
So mark your calendars.
I will mark my calendar.
That's a week after my birthday.
And mine.
Could you do it a week earlier so we could do it on Jonah's birthday?
I'll see what I can do.
Okay, I really appreciate that.
We do it 2 days earlier than that, so it could be on my birthday.
Oh, you guys' birthdays are near each other. My two nerd pals.
It's so shitty though that your birthday will always get overshadowed by mine.
But I feel like it's first. So
No, because everyone's like gearing up for Jonah Ray's birthday.
I wish you guys would just make love and get it over with. By the way, I do want to say if you want to email us, you can do so at podcast@nerdist.com.
Oh, open the floodgates, Chris.
Yeah, it's not as bad as you think it is.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
There's only a couple people who are like, why don't you do this and then add this and use this kind of microphone?
Well,
Like,
where are these
all right.
ideas? I need them.
Well, I'll pass them along to you if you're ever mad at yourself one day.
You should read them and ignore them.
And then also, I do want to say the next Nerdist podcast live June 10th with Craig Ferguson. So you can get tickets you can get all the info online.
It's a
at
Thursday.
Nerdist.com. Yeah,
Take
it's a
Friday
Thursday
off.
show
Have a 3-day
live in LA.
weekend. Start it off
So,
with the podcast.
Let's all together say thank you, Weird Al, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Weird Al.
Oh, no, just not me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm just going, thanks, guys.
I think that suffices. All right. Goodbye. Goodbye. The end.
Now leaving Nerdist.com.